Functions. Basically, when you have a function, it's got this certain type of relationship where you have an input and you do something to that input, and then you figure out what the output is. And knowing what to do with it basically is where we follow a rule. And so if we looked at a function rule, we could look at it and it looks very similar to a linear equation a lot of times, because normally at this level it is y equals 2x, and we know that x is our inputs. So our inputs are x and our y's are our outputs. So this side right here is like an input. It's our x. So if 6 was the x value, that would mean that for this particular rule or this particular function, we would take the input and times it by 2. So 6 times 2 is 12, and we'll record our results right here. Our input was 6, our output is 12. But it's a relationship where no matter what you put in there, here's 1.5, if we times that by 2, we get 3. So 1.5 was our input and 3 is our output. And the same thing happens with negative 5. We're just going to multiply it by 2. That's our rule. So that would equal negative 10. So negative 2 was our input. I'm sorry, negative 5 was our input. And negative 10 is our output. So that's the relationship there. If you know what the exact rule is, you can then plug in anything you want for the input, follow the rule, and you'll be able to find out what the output is. Another thing I wanted to mention is that basically the rule is the same thing as an equation, okay? And so when you look at your equation and you see that the x value is in there, that's where you would insert your input numbers. And then most of the time the rule is where the y is all by itself, and that would be your output. Also, moving on, it's just really important of this idea of a function that when you put the same input in, you would get the same output again. So without going into big details, you can see right here we put in a 6, right? And we got a 12. That means if it's a function, if I put a 6 in again right here, so let's just write 6 in here for the input, and we shove it in here to our input function machine. This 6 is going to be multiplied by 2, and you would get 12 yet again. And so it's this idea of a function is always going to follow the same rule. There are different functions and there's different rules, but once you realize that it is a function, if your x's repeat, your y's better be the same also. So here we got a 6 and got an output of 12. We have an input of 6 and we got the output of 12 again. That is definitely a function. If for some reason it went to 20, it would not be a function.